today's session, we start with a 30-second silence to calm our mind. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sadasiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Many thanks and a very highly respectful welcome to each of you for this wonderful session on Vedantic Mindsets. Right. So let me share a presentation. This session is expected to go on for about 90 odd minutes. There is a Q&A which is planned at the end where people can ask your queries and then we share certain perspectives. Right.
And I just want to add something here.
Please.
Just wanted to share with all of you, normally after the session, we kind of exit and not wait for Q&A thinking it's for those people who have the question. But our experience so far has been, that has been the most interesting discussion, the way Ranga gives us answers to our questions and how others can come up with the questions. So I would really recommend all of you to please stay back for the Q&A and you will never regret about it. So that's my sincere request. Please plan for 2 hours and stay back. Thank you, Ranga.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Etan. So let me share my screen. I'll be using a presentation as a guiding course. I'll be nothing without my gurus. My gurus have taught me correctly. If I make a mistake, it is purely my inability to understand. And I seek their forgiving in case I have not understood something right. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you. So
somebody's asked you to increase your volume.
My volume? Okay.
That's what somebody said, but we all can hear very clearly.
Right. Usually people say, Ranga, can you speak a little low? Anyway, let me start. Let's dive deep into the session. Vedantic Mindsets. Right. Mindsets, as the picture shows here, like the tip of the iceberg. The behaviors we demonstrate are just the tip of the iceberg. The behaviors, the communication, everything comes from an underlying attitude, the mindsets, right? And which is below the water, and that's huge. We have received mindsets from the time we are born. Our mind is conditioned by family, by the society, by the school, by the nation, more importantly, by the advertisements and the TV serials and the YouTube videos today. And more importantly, the WhatsApp forwards that we get, everything conditions our mind and we develop a mindset. Mindset sits at the subconscious level, like the operating system of a computer. We are all aware of the apps, but we are not aware of the operating system functioning under that. We use the apps in mobile, but we forget the Android, which is driving the whole thing, right? So whether it is a Mac OS or a Windows, the operating system drives everything. Mindsets are like that. May I request to mute everyone, please? Thank you. Now, mindsets. Srividya, can I request you to mute all? Okay. Mindsets are in different domains. Like we have mindsets related to money. We have mindsets related to, say, education. We have mindsets related to, say, marriage and relationships. We have mindsets related to politics, right? Mindsets are everywhere. I am not here talking about mindsets in various domains. sticking to our vision of joyful and peaceful living on a day-to-day basis. If Vedanta can't contribute to that, then Vedanta is pure theory, right? No, if Vedanta can contribute to joyful and peaceful day-to-day life, then I think Vedantic mindsets should be looked at a little deeply. And there are many Vedantic mindsets, given the short duration of time that I have, which is around 75 odd minutes. I have consciously picked up what I consider, what I have learned as the top 4 Vedantic mindsets. So let's dive into each of them. Right. Vedantic mindset 1. We need to understand certain words correctly. In my journey into Vedanta, my guru always used to tell me about what is called Shabda Jnanam. Shabda Jnanam is you must have a clear, concise understanding of a word. And we cannot use one word in place of another word. We cannot say any word that comes to our mind, because words provoke not only meaning, words provoke a lot of energy, positive or negative, whichever way, right? Like in English, we say presentation, debate, discussion, brainstorming, argument. We use many words. Are these words the same? No, each word has a particular meaning and we have to use it in a particular context, right? So let me introduce the word buddhi. Buddhi is a Sanskrit term. Mostly people refer to it as intellect, which is right. But buddhi also has a connotation of a mindset, right? So we are using this word buddhi in the context of a mindset, right? Which means my subconscious mind, which I am mostly unaware of, drives a lot of my talking, drives a lot of my thoughts, drives a lot of my behavior, and mostly I am unaware of that. And that subconscious process we call as mindset, which is buddhi. The second word to understand is a word called arpana. What does arpana mean? Arpana means offering. Okay. It also has another meaning. If you read any book, after the first few pages, you will see, I dedicate this book to somebody. Now, it can be parents, it can be a spouse, it can be a child, it can be a teacher, it can be a guru. They say, I dedicate this book to somebody. I mean, that dedication is an offering, right? Now, when do we offer? When do we dedicate something to somebody? Only when we have received a lot already, right? We don't dedicate a book to somebody who is a stranger, who has not contributed to us. We don't dedicate a book to a terrorist, for example, unless the book itself is on the terrorist, right? We dedicate a book, or we make an offering, or we make an arpana only to someone or to something that has given us a lot, and we have taken a lot out of it, right? That's what is called arpana, right? We introduce the word buddhi, we introduce the word arpana. Let me introduce the third word, which is Ishvara. Ishvara is not Shiva. Ishvara is not Vishnu. Ishvara is not Allah. Ishvara is not Christ. Ishvara is not a God. Commonly known myth is Ishvara is a God. No, Ishvara is not. Then what is Ishvara? Right? Ishvara is just a word that conveys a specific meaning. That is, Ishvara refers to the totality. The totality of all the orders put together. We have biological system, we have chemical system, we have physics laws, right? We have light, we have magnetism, we had electricity. Everything is a cosmic order in which the whole cosmos seems to be operating and seems to be operating perfectly, right? That entire totality of the system is referred to by the Shabda Ishvara, right? Now, which means we must first clarify within our minds that we are not referring to a God, because conceptually there is no God. There is only godliness. And that godliness is nothing but a set of systems. And all these laws, like law of gravity, right? The magnetism which is there through which the planets go around the sun, everything put together, the totality is referred to as Ishvara, right? Now, if we put it all together, the three words put together, the first Vedantic mindset that we need to develop is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. When you combine them, it becomes Ishwararpana Buddhi. It is also referred to as Ishvara Pranidhanam, right? Now, I would prefer to use the phrase Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. What's the meaning of putting it all together, right? Which means I do an action, like say I am conducting this session for all of you. That session is an arpana, that means it is a dedication, it is an offering to the totality, right? That means I am not doing a favor to any of you in this room. By listening to me, you're not doing a favor to me or to anybody else, you're doing a favor to the system. Or when you choose to pass the knowledge that you gain in the system to everybody else, you're not again doing a favor to anybody else, you're again passing it to the system, right? So it is an arpana done to the Ishvara, and that is a mindset with which we should operate, is what is called Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. I may be doing a simple act of cooking. I may be doing a simple act of maybe helping somebody on the road, right? I maybe do a simple act of maybe buying some food to somebody. But that is not an offering to a person. I mean, that's an offering to the system, right? Now, let's explain this a little more in detail. I am here visually. This picture represents me, and I do something to someone else. That someone else can be anybody. It can be my spouse, it can be my parents, it can be my children, it can be my neighbor, it can be my teacher, it can be my boss, it can be my customer. I do something to that person. Okay. Or I have a garden and I water the plants. Right? Or I take the social work. We go and do weed removal in a park and we plant some trees. Okay. Of course, on a lighter note, people immediately take photographs and post it on Facebook. And, particularly, I remember watching a movie where, there is an agency which deals in creating branding and image for a Miss World. So, she goes around doing a lot of things and everything is captured, and she is acting as if she is feeding an old person and the old person is opening the mouth. And as soon as the photograph is taken, she's really not even giving it to that old lady. She just puts it down and walks off because the purpose is achieved. The purpose is the photograph has been taken, right? Now, the question is, I may be watering a plant very genuinely. I may be contributing to the plant community. Or I may be contributing to an animal community. I may be walking on the road and I find an abandoned pup and I may hand it over to a pup shelter home. Or I may adopt that pup and take care of that pup. So, which means I am contributing. That one person you see on the right side is representing humanity, the plant species, then the animal species. Or I may be contributing to my own deities, whether it's a Hindu deity or an Islamic deity or a Christian deity, does not matter, something religious. I may be conducting a yajna, I may be conducting a puja, right? Now, the moment I think I am contributing to a person, then natural human tendency is to expect something back. And the moment that expectation is not met, we say reciprocity is missing, we immediately brand the person as ungrateful. Right? He has received a lot and not giving me anything. Now, I water a plant. For example, I plant the seed of a tree and I water the plant. It takes, say, 20 years for the tree to grow and give me fruits. That tree is not giving me anything, but 20 years I've just been watering. But remember, I'm eating fruits of some other tree. Right? Now, a deeper understanding is essential. This session is not about developing beliefs. Vedanta or scriptures do not develop beliefs in us. It develops understanding in us. That's why it's called Jnana Yoga. It's a deeper understanding how the whole thing works, right? Till we understand gravity, gravity is a miracle. When I throw something, how does it come out? It's a miracle, yes. But the moment I understand something, it's no more a miracle. Oh, I understand. That's how it happens, right? Today, people get perplexed about a lot of things of people. That's because they're ignorant about people. Right? So, I do something to a humanity. I do something to a plant species. I do something to an animal species. I do something to a religious space. But we have to understand, I do nothing to any of these people. I do everything to the totality. This is the first understanding that we must develop. Whenever I do an act, I do it to the totality. I do it to the Ishvara. Ishvara is not a religious term. Ishvara is a concept. It's a shabda. The meaning of that shabda is it refers to totality. Which means anything I do it to the totality. And whatever I receive from the totality. Right? I may be, let's assume that I help an old person in the train. I don't meet the person again in my life. But maybe somewhere somebody else might help me. Right? I give food to somebody on the road. I may not meet the person again in my life. Right? When we use an expression, what goes around comes around, that means it may not, and mostly it will not come from the same person. It will not come from the same thing to which we contributed, but it will come from the system. Right? This is an understanding. Does it mean it will never come from the same person? No. For example, I help somebody, and that somebody may be very grateful to me, and that somebody may do a lot of things to me because that person is also part of the system. That means it can come from the same person. It can come from the same thing that to which I contributed. Can, may not, need not. Right? In fact, if I help somebody, that somebody may stab me in the back. I've had many experiences of that. I trusted somebody, and to somebody I gave money, and the person stabbed me in the back. I trusted somebody, and I did something, and that person cheated me badly. Right? Right? Which means I am doing something, then I get into a mode of he cheated me, or suddenly I say, no, I got cheated. All of this is not right. I did something to the system, and the system returned something to me. Right? Now, this mindset, if we develop, it certainly removes or at least dilutes the expectations. And when expectations are diluted, we are willing and more open to accepting certain things. And when we accept certain things, our joy and peace increases. Let's not lose sight of the vision of joyful Vedanta journey. The vision of joyful Vedanta journey is live a joyful and a peaceful life. And what do we need for that? When we were discussing mindsets, a very powerful thought was given to me by my guru. He said, everybody has given you mindsets, Ranga. Everybody, your family, your society, your advertisements, everything is giving you mindsets. What mindsets have you given yourself? It's your mind. Have you consciously practiced and developed certain mindsets? Like practiced and learning swimming, practicing and learning cycling. What have you practiced and developed as mindset inside you? And that's how the Vedantic mindsets came into picture. This is not something that someone may put into you. In our culture, actually they do when we are children, but we don't take it seriously. But when a deeper understanding strikes us, we say, oh yeah, this is what my father was telling. This is what my grandfather was telling. Okay? So the mindset is, whatever I give to the totality, which is Ishvara. Whatever I take from the totality, and that's Ishvara. The moment we understand this deeply, our joy and peace increases. Let me tell you a very interesting story. The gorgeous girl and the ugly man. Very interesting story, right? The gorgeous girl, really beautiful girl. She loves nature. She takes a walk in the park, walk in the forest. So people tell her, be careful, you're going alone. And she is just out of teenage and she says, hey, nothing can happen to me, come on. You know, teenagers and above, they feel that they conquered the world, they know everything, right? So she walks bravely into the forest. And the forest was fascinating, right? She fell in love with the flowers, the trees, the landscape. She goes in and in and in and in, and she loses track of time. Suddenly it starts to get dark. And she looks at the time, it's 5:30 in the evening. And she is in the thick jungle. And in her excitement, she has forgotten to track the route she came by. Now she's hearing noises, voices of animals. She's getting scared. She doesn't know what to do. And suddenly, there's a motorbike sound. Then she's looking, and that's coming towards her. One look at that person on the motorbike when he stops near her. All her enthusiasm is gone down because he's looking absolutely ugly with, hair scattered all over. He's smelling of liquor. One look at him, he's not a good guy. And he looks at her upside down, and says, babe, you're lost. Get on the bike. And he orders her. She's gone. She says, that's it, my life is gone. This guy can do anything to me. Why did he do this foolish thing? She gets on the bike because she has no choice. Then after a while, the guy says, hold on to me, babe. I'm going to drive fast. He said, that's it. My life is gone. And he drives fast, goes through the forest, comes to the highway, takes her to a police station, drops her and says, go inside and be safe. Go home tomorrow morning. She can't believe what happened. She thought, imagined all kinds of nonsense about this guy. And this guy is such a good-hearted guy. And with tears in her eyes, she tells him, thank you so much. I don't know how to thank you. How will I give back to you? The guy smiles and makes a statement. Listen to the statement carefully. He says, you have nothing to give back to me, babe. Pass the goodness. The world needs it. Right? I think it's a story that really touched me a lot. To say, when we do something to somebody, they owe us nothing. Right? The only request we can make to them is pass it on because the world needs it. Right? Now, that deep understanding of the totality, the deep understanding of what Ishvara means, the deep understanding of what Arpana means. We are Arpana, we are doing Arpana because we have already received a lot. The 100-meter dash, the Olympic medalist practices a lot and gets a medal. Can you say he got the medal? Yes, he can feel happy about his effort. But who gave him the power to run? Who gave him the limbs? Who gave him the power that if he practices, he will become sharper? Who gave him the power to see? So we have already received a lot from Ishvara. That means the totality. Right? When we recognize that we have already received a lot from the totality, is when we feel like doing an Arpana. Till then, we don't feel like doing an Arpana. Right? So first step, recognize at every moment we have received a lot. Right? We can say it's happening because of technology, this session. But who found out this technology? Who gave that intellect for the person to think? That's the system. Right? So, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi is the first Vedantic mindset. Let's go to the second mindset, which is, we'll know it soon. To understand the second mindset, you should understand another word, which is called prasada. Right? What is prasada? When we visit a religious place, after we go through everything, we get a prasada. Let's be clear. You don't get prasada at the beginning. Prasada is given to you only after you complete what you are supposed to do. It's an end product. It's not the starting product, right? And what is the attribute of prasada? Prasada can be anything. Let's assume we use it in temple, right? Prasada can be anything. It can be a rice. It can be a sweet. It can be a banana. It can be a fruit, right? Now, let's understand that the prasada is an output of a set of actions that we have already done, right? And what are the attributes of prasada? We receive the prasada with a lot of reverence. We don't receive the prasada as if we receive something else. No. When you buy a product and you give cash and the guy gives you change, do you receive the change with reverence? No, we don't. Do we receive the product with reverence? No, we don't. But we receive a prasada with reverence, right? A lot of respect. And we don't pass a judgment. Like what? Hey, yesterday also they gave the same sweet. Today also they gave the same sweet. Can't they change it? Oh, salt is a little less here. Oh, sweet is too much. Who is the cook here? We don't do anything. Second, I may even waste food at home, but I may not waste food given as prasada. I may refuse something that somebody gives. For example, I say, let's assume I don't like to drink milk, and somebody offers me milk. I politely refuse. I say, sorry, I don't drink milk. I'm sorry. But when the milk is given as prasada, we don't refuse. We take it, right? Which means we attach a lot of reverence without judgments. And that is prasada. The second mindset, Vedantic mindset, which we all need to develop, is what's called prasada buddhi. Buddhi is already explained as a shabda jnana. In this context, buddhi is referred to as mindset, not referred to as just intellect, right? Prasada buddhi, that means I do something with a lot of passion. The result can be anything. The result can match what I expected. The result can match much lower than my expectation. The result can match higher than my expectation. Or the result can be something totally different, right? They say, no, I dug a pit or I cut a well to get water, but a spirit came back, right? So I dug the ground to plant a seed. Suddenly a snake comes up and bites me. So which means the result can be less, more, or anything, right? But I gave my best. Right? Now, after doing everything you do, that's why I said, first of all, you finish off everything in the temple. Then prasada is given. That means after doing all my duties, after doing everything that I am supposed to do, then whatever result comes, with what mindset do I receive? Do I crib? Do I complain? Do I cry? No. Only question I have to ask myself is, have I done everything from my side right? And if I have, I think I must receive whatever that comes to me as a result as prasada buddhi, right? That's why in Bhagavad Gita it is said, karma anya eva adhikarasya. That means I have the right to action. I don't have the right to the fruits of the action, because the fruits of the action depends on a lot of other factors which we don't know, right? We are not aware. It's ignorance. For example, when I give something to somebody and I expect something back from that person, maybe I don't know that I already owed something to that person, and so I gave something. So the equation is settled actually. He has nothing to give me back. Maybe I'm not aware. The action I'm doing is an action, or it is a reaction. It is something that I'm supposed to do. Right? So there is a lot of ignorance, something that I don't know. There are many things I don't know. Knowledge has its limitations. right? Which means I ask myself this one question: have I done everything right from my side? And then develop a mindset to accept whatever I get as a prasada. The second Vedantic mindset is prasada buddhi. And Ishwararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi go hand in hand. Right? Now, let me quickly take you through the third mindset. Right? Vedantic mindset number 3. Right? I have to tell you a story here. The story of a philosopher on the ship. Right? This is a philosopher, I'm talking about ages back when there's no WhatsApp and there's nothing. You have to travel between cities and countries in ship. So a philosopher relocates from one country to another country. He tells his family, I will go there, I'll set up a house, I'll set up a family and come back, I'll call you. I'll let you know, I'll send a message to you. Right? Not a WhatsApp message, some way to communicate. Then you people can come. So he leaves this country, takes another 3 months to reach another country, then finds a nice house, finds a job, then sets up the house, then communicates somehow to his family that they can come. And his family, wife and 2 children, lovely children. Okay. With all their wealth sold in the previous country, and they're traveling in the ship. Now, after around 15 days, the assistant to this philosopher comes running to him and says, Sir, the ship has sunk. And the moment the philosopher hears the ship has sunk, he says, What? Yes, sir, everyone is dead. And the philosopher closes his eyes and says, So what? And the assistant is a little perplexed. He says, Sir, your wife and children are dead. You don't have a family. And the philosopher says, What? Yes, sir, you're alone now. He closes his eyes and says, So what? And the assistant says, Sir, all your wealth is gone down the sea. The philosopher says, What? And then the assistant says, Sir, you're a pauper now. And the philosopher closes his eyes and says, So what? Right? This is a very powerful story where when we say what, that means I am hit by the situation and it's painful and I have not yet accepted it. And so the reaction from us is what? But the moment I accept that it is reality and it has happened, yes, and I cannot change it. The moment that deep realization sets in, we are able to say, so what? Right? Now, I have multiple examples to give here. Like say, suddenly in COVID situation, we saw this a lot. We saw couples dying together, young children being left. Right? And we had many instances where the husband dies suddenly. Right? Now, you don't expect that even to happen, but it happened. Right? For many people, the what happens, the so what doesn't happen that easily. And we get stuck. Right? We keep thinking mentally, 10 years back, that guy cheated me. 20 years back, he insulted me. I am glad he met with an accident. Right? Because he insulted me, let him suffer in the hospital now. Right? You know what? The what has happened. The so what has not yet happened. In fact, for many people, the gap between what and so what is many years. Right? How can he do this to me? Right? We have not accepted it still. In fact, there's a very beautiful analysis which my guru used to give about Mahabharata. Why did the Mahabharata war happen? Why? The question is, why? Did it happen because of Dhritarashtra? Did it happen because of Draupadi? Did it happen because of Duryodhana? Did it happen because of Karna? What was the cause? Is it because of the promise that Bhishma made to his father? Right? Is it because Dhritarashtra was blind? Is it because Draupadi laughed at the wrong moment that provoked Duryodhana? Is it because of the insult Duryodhana gave on Draupadi by stripping her in the court? What is the cause? There was a beautiful discussion on Mahabharata when I was in Rishikesh once, and Pujya Swamiji was in his flow. He said the root cause for Mahabharata war is nobody had the mind to forgive. Everybody wanted to settle scores. Right? The chain could have been broken at any point. Duryodhana could have said, it's okay, Draupadi's laughed, it's all right. She called a blind man's son is a blind guy. She said it, it's all right. Now that it's all right, he could not say. And of course, it's very difficult for Draupadi to say it's all right when she was stripped in the court. Right? Yeah, I made a promise to my father under a different context. Now the context has changed. It's okay to break the promise. I think the country is going to dogs. Let me step in and do something. Bhishma could not say that. Which means people had what? And they could not accept it. And forgiving comes a little later. Only when you accept it deeply, can you even think of a divine act like forgiving. And to say, it's all right. Let me make a new beginning. Right? Let today be different. And if I today be different, my tomorrow will be different. The past has to be de-linked. Many people are unable to de-link the past. They live in the past. An event happened 20 years back. They relive it in their mind every day. Right? And everything happens inside the mind. There's a beautiful Zen story. A monk and a few disciples were crossing the forest, and they came across a small stream which can be crossed only with a small log of wood across. And there was a beautiful young girl standing, being scared how to walk on the log and cross the stream. The Zen master chose to carry her on the shoulder and drop her on that side. The disciples could not accept this. Being a Zen master, how can you touch that girl and carry her on your shoulder? And the Zen master carried her, dropped her, moved on. But the disciples were very disturbed. He turned around and asked the disciples, is something bothering you? They said no. They walked for another few kilometers. Then the Zen master turned, smiled and asked, I think something is bothering you. They said no. After another 5 kilometers, the Zen master sat down and told the disciples, what's bothering you? Then one of the disciples blurted out, being a Zen master, you are our guru. How, being a monk, you can carry the girl on your shoulder? The Zen master smiled and said, I dropped her 8 hours ago. Looks like you're carrying her in your mind even now. Right? The carrying that we do is happening inside the mind. And that carrying is the gap between what and so what. Right? If someone affected us badly, if today I can show an action which is very positive, maybe the future will be very different. But if I keep increasing the gap only will increase, nothing else will happen. Remember, we are discussing Vedantic mindsets, and we are discussing it in the context with an objective to live a peaceful and a joyful life. I've had many instances of people cheating me, people stabbing me in the back. And I have tried, I'm not saying I've succeeded at all times. I have tried to reset. In technology, in computers, there is a beautiful button called restore defaults, right? You messed around with some options and you want to restore defaults, right? Same way, I have attempted to restore defaults with people. Sometimes it has worked, sometimes it has not worked. Right? Being a philosopher, the gap between what and so what was only 30 seconds for the philosopher. That's all. Sir, the ship has sunk. What? Yes, sir, your family is dead. So what? That's it. In 30 seconds, this person, being a monk, is able to accept the reality. I've seen people losing their mother and father, and for 40 years they can't accept it. Right? And the gap is always there for them between what and so what. Right? Can we reduce the gap? Of course, when someone cheats us, it's very difficult. And if we attempt to bring neutrality to it so that the future will be different, whether the other person is at peace or not, we will be at peace. Right? In fact, I read a very powerful quote, friends. The quote said, I forgive people not because they merit to be forgiven. I forgive people because I merit peace. Right? Now, how much of our joy and our peace do we focus on? The third Vedantic mindset is what, so what. The Vedantic mindset 4. Very difficult mindset to have. In fact, I have had problems in developing these mindsets. Every time my guru's words come into my head, world has given you mindsets. It has given you mindsets about money. It has given you mindsets about women. It has given you mindsets about education. The world has dumped your mind with mindsets. What is that one mindset you have developed for yourself, by yourself? That question keeps on ringing in my mind. And out of many mindsets which I find it very difficult to develop, the Vedantic mindset 4 has been very challenging for me. And I would like to describe that mindset to you a little slowly, right? The VM4, the Vedantic mindsets 4. I would like to run through all the mindsets after I complete so that we get a complete grasp of it. Right? Actions and experiences. Right? We all do actions. Actions can be favorable for the other person, favorable for myself, unfavorable for the other person, unfavorable for myself. Right? Actions like a sacrifice, unfavorable to myself, may be favorable to the other person. Actions like a selfish action, favorable to myself, may be unfavorable to the other person. Right? And we all go through experiences of actions. Suppose I yell at my parent, my spouse, my child, my boss, my customer. Suppose I yell at them. That's an action. And I go through an experience. Let's assume somebody yells at me. I go through an experience. Right? An experience is an emotional thing. I may experience anger. I may experience jealousy. I may experience, say, helplessness. I may experience irritation, actions and experiences. And this is what we go through every minute of our day, day-to-day life. Vedanta is not a theoretical subject which is meant for old age. No. In fact, one of the requests that Pujya Swamiji, Dayananda Saraswati ji made to us was, can you develop a course for children? Because Vedanta has to be learned at a very young age. And with that deep knowledge, people can achieve 100 times more than what they would otherwise achieve. With so much stress and tension, if we can achieve something, with a lot of calmness and peace, I am sure we will achieve a lot more, right? So, one of the very important things is to understand emotions, the emotion of anger, the emotion of jealousy, the emotion of I don't care, right? The unwillingness to forget and move on, if not forgive. The unwillingness to press the default button, right? Now, we have two parts to our personality. The first part of our personality is actor. I am not talking about it in the sense of a movie actor. I am talking in the sense of a person who does action. He's an actor. In Sanskrit, we call it karta, right? Even in Christianity, we say kartave, right? The karta here means the action of creation, right? Karta means action. So one part of our personality does the various actions. Like I have a sense of duty to society. I follow traffic rules, and that's an action. I have a sense of duty to my family. So I take care of the education of our children. I take care of the responsibilities towards my spouse, towards my parents, and that's an action. Right? I have a sense of responsibility to the planet. So I do the action of not throwing plastics, not using plastics, and be a little more civilized. And all these actions are done by the part of my personality called karta, that is actor. Then there is another part to my personality which is called bhokta. Bhokta means experiencer. The personality which experiences the consequences of the action. Right. If I persistently eat junk food, the experience will be ill health. The experiencer, the bhokta, is experiencing the ill health. The karta is doing the action of eating either right food or wrong food. Right? If I settle scores, the experiencer is experiencing something. Right? In fact, in Mahabharata, after Dushasana is killed in a very horrible manner by Bhima, he tears off his chest and drinks the blood and gives the blood to Draupadi to apply on her hair because she's taken a vow on that. And once she applies the blood on the hair, Draupadi's whole emotion changes. And she wants to forgive Dushasana. Krishna smiles and says, it is too late. The whole war wouldn't have happened if you had forgiven him earlier. Right? The experiencer, the bhokta part. Now, all of us have these two personalities in us, in our mind. We go through actions, we go through experience. Right? I yell at my child, the child yells back at me. the gap between the two parts of our personality is very narrow. In fact, for many people, it is completely fused together. What does that mean? That means I am not spiritually matured. What's the meaning of spiritually matured? That means I let my actor affect my experiencer, and I let my experiencer affect my actor. I have allowed my karta to affect my bhokta, and I allow my bhokta to affect my karta. Right. And it can translate to other zones as well. Like let's assume I have a huge fight with my son or daughter at home, and I'm supposed to do the action of dropping the kid in the school. The experiencer is bad. That means the bhokta has experienced something bad. And I tell the child, you walk to the school, I won't drop you today. Which means I have allowed my bhokta to interfere with my karta. Right. But if I'm able to delink the two, I still experience that negative emotion of the fight, but I allow the karta to do what needs to be done. And maybe I will drop the child in the school. Maybe I will not talk in the car. I will just do the action of dropping the child. Right? For many of us, the bhokta part of our personality affects the karta part very badly. And it affects others too. Like I have a fight with my boss in the office, and I pick my bag and reach home, and say my spouse asked me a question, and I yell at her. What has happened here? The bhokta had a bad experience in a different context. And I'm unable to switch the context. When I come home, it's a different context. I'm unable to switch. And the moment I'm unable to switch, the actor is affected in a different role. Right? A very beautiful example. A CEO of a company, highly respected, comes home with a few of his colleagues. As soon as he reached home, his wife tells him, I've been waiting for you. Can you just go buy vegetables and come for dinner? And the colleagues are shocked. The colleagues say, hey, he's a CEO of a company. How can you ask him to buy vegetables? And the wife says, he's a CEO in the company. At home, he's the husband. Let's not have conflict. Let's not have any confusion in the role. Right. And in the role of a husband, he has a responsibility. Right. Which means, how much am I able to delink the karta and bhokta and understand that they are two different parts of my personality and create a gap and not let it affect. In fact, many people, they shy away from their responsibilities, and they give a reason when you ask them why you are not doing your responsibilities. They say that, oh, you know what happened 5 years back? Why should I do this? Now combine it with what's so what. One of the reasons, in fact, if you very carefully, meticulously observe, all the 4 mindsets that I have picked up, they're all closely connected to each other. It's a package. Right? And nothing comes without practice. You have to practice deliberately. Right? When a person who has hurt you, you have an opportunity to pick the phone and speak to that person and wish the person a happy birthday. Right? You have to do that action consciously because you're trying to change the present with the hope that the future will be different. Right? Right? And it's a practice consciously done, like cycling and swimming. You're a practice consciously to develop these as mindset inside us. Everything goes into subconscious mind through the conscious mind. Something was told to you again and again and again, it became subconscious mind. And we need to tell ourselves something again and again and again, it goes into subconscious mind. Right? Whether we like it or not, karta will affect bhokta, bhokta will affect karta. It will. Right? What do we have as a choice and what should we practice? Right? We have to practice distancing the two. And the first step in distancing the two is to de-link past. Past is like sunk cost. It's gone. You have to take lessons from it. Yes. If you refuse to take lessons from the past, we are making a mistake. One, we have to let go. Right? And start afresh today. Swami Vivekananda made a very beautiful statement. You can't step into the same river twice. It's a very powerful and very loaded statement. You can't step into the same river twice. What does that mean? That means the first time I stepped into the river, and within 5 minutes when I step in again, it's a different river. Why? Because it has flown. Right? So you don't deal with the same person twice, and that person is gone. Can we develop the maturity to deal with another situation as a new situation? To take the first step, second step, third step from our side to create a new future? Or once done, lifelong it's done and that's it. That means we are stuck with what we have not yet asked, so what? Right? Creating a distance between karta and bhokta. Right? And once the distance is more, can we dilute the impact? We cannot remove the impact. What do you mean by remove the impact? The karta affecting the bhokta and the bhokta affecting the karta, we cannot remove it, but can I at least make it dotted lines? Can I practice to make it dotted lines? Right. Right. In fact, only when we do this, we realize that relationships can be very beautiful. Otherwise, we'll get stuck. One mistake and that's it. You're stuck for the rest of your life. Because that person refuses to let go of that mistake and forgive. In fact, forgive. Forgive is a very big word. At least forget and move on. We won't move on. We get stuck. 20 years back this happened, 15 years back this happened, 10 years back it happened. I am not going to let it happen again. No. That means the experiencer, the bhokta, is loaded. Right. Whereas a philosophical mindset, a person who is more spiritually evolved, if you look at one of the slides that Sri Vidya showed, not just grow, choose to evolve. There is a big difference between growing and evolving. Growing is about numbers. Growing is about picking competencies. How skilled I was last year, how skilled I am today. Right? How many lines of code did I write as a software engineer? How many products did I produce last year? How many products I'm producing this year? Am I more productive today than yesterday? This is growth. If our mind is stuck on growth, it's very difficult to evolve. And evolution is about pausing and thinking and doing something which is our own creation of mindset within ourselves. Not let the environment define the mindset for us. We have to define it for ourselves. This is the mindset I want for myself. And if you look at it carefully, the moment we created separation between actor and experiencer, the difference, the separation between the karta and the bhokta, what first impacts is ourselves. Our peace will increase. Our joy will increase. In fact, when we interact with a person who has hurt us very badly, normally the other person would feel more guilty. And the other person, there's a higher chance but the other person transforms. Right? Otherwise, the transformation will not happen in the other person. There's a very beautiful story. Right? A Christian father picks up a baby from the road, an abandoned baby, and brings the baby as if it's his own baby in the church. The boy is 11 years and he sees a lot of silver vessels in the church. So he takes all the silver vessels, rather steals all the silver vessels and runs away to make a future for himself. To his bad luck, a set of cops see a small boy with so much of silver vessels, get suspicious. And they find out that the silver vessels is belonging to the church because the church name is, printed on the silver vessel. So they bring the entire vessels and the boy to the church. And the dialogue between the cop and the Christian father. Do these vessels belong to the church? The father says yes. Does this boy belong to the church? Yes, he belongs to the church. Did he steal them? Immediately the Christian father says, no, he didn't steal it. I gave it to him. Right? And the cops go away. Now, and the father also goes away. There is a higher probability, let me make it clear. There is a higher probability that the guy in front might transform himself. That's all. He may not, because in future he may steal gold vessels and go. That's a possibility, yes. What I'm talking about, there's a higher probability that the guy might transform. Right? Did the father tell a lie? Yes, he did. What the father spoke was a lie. But the intent behind that is to transform the person in front, not to settle the score, not to punish, and not to keep on referring it. You remember last year you stole. You remember 2 years back you stole. You remember 5 years back you stole. And the guy will steal the whole church and go. Not because he wants to, but because he has been suffocated by repetitive reference to one bad act again and again and again. And that's what hurt him badly. Right? I'll give you another corporate example. Many of us are working. It actually happened in my company. Many years ago, when I was working for a company in Bombay, technical books used to be very costly. And no company can afford more than one copy of the technical book. There was a highly, technical book which costed, I'm talking about 1990. And that time it was 4,000 rupees. You can imagine the cost now. Only one copy was there. And as per library rules, such book can be taken only for 2 days. And then you have to return it. And if you don't return it after 2 days, every day there is a 2 rupee fine. There's a technical guy who is very rude and arrogant. And he is very indispensable. And he knows he is indispensable. He took the book and for 30 days he didn't return. Nor did he pay the fine. The librarian politely sent him a reminder, knowing that this guy is indispensable. They requested him. Nothing happened. Once this guy sees that the librarian is talking to his boss. This guy sees the librarian talking to his boss. So he's imagining that the boss will call him, fire him for not returning the book. That's what he's expecting. But nothing like that happened. The librarian went away. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, the boss is interacting normally. Now this guy is in tension. So he goes to the librarian and says, what, you complained to my boss, is it, about the book? And the librarian smiles and says, yeah, I told him about it, and kept quiet. So what happened? And the librarian says, nothing. He just paid your fine. That's all. Now, is this a good act or a bad act? You don't know. It's debatable. It's a live example of what I experienced. But this guy felt miserable. He says, my boss trusts me so much and he has paid the fine on my behalf. Then the next day, he returned the book in the library and told the librarian, I'm giving you the money. Please give it to my boss. You know what? By our not letting the experiencer affect the actor has a choice of doing something else. Something so good. In fact, there is a beautiful Tirukkural. Of course, I don't want to say it in Tamil. I'll translate it into English. If someone does something bad to you, you do so much good to them, they start really feeling ashamed. Right? So you have a choice as an actor. What can you do? Reaction is one choice, yes. Non-reaction and doing something good is another choice. By doing that, we are only taking control of the present, which has a higher probability. Let me repeat, which has a higher probability of changing the future. That's all. It won't for sure, no. Creating a gap between the karta and the bhokta. I am only referring to mindsets as given in the scriptures. I am not referring to general mindsets that people talk about money and women and culture and relationships. I am talking about Vedantic mindsets. And these 4 Vedantic mindsets will drive us to be more peaceful and more joyous for ourselves first. And when we are peaceful and joyous, that radiates. When we are stressed and pained, it radiates. People get into a self-pity mode. I don't know why this happens to me. I am very unfortunate. The whole world is out to grab me. Everybody trusts, nobody trusts me. Nobody works with me. We get into that self-pity mode. Why do we get into that self-pity mode? Simply because we don't know how to create a gap between the bhokta and the karta. We don't know how to move from what to so what and develop new skills. When we complain, nobody listens to me. We have to ask a question to ourselves. Do I know how to make someone listen to me? Am I incompetent? Do I have a weakness in me? Should I develop that skill? We don't ask those questions. We simply say, world doesn't listen to me, and we walk off as if there is nothing wrong with us. Right? Frankly, very honestly, when I looked at every time, I found that it was pointing back at me. It was pointing back at my incompetence on something, my inability, my emotional immaturity. It reflected my spiritual imbalance many times. And it's a continuous journey to rectify oneself. Right? You can lead others only when we can know how to lead ourselves. Right? So I deliberately chose 4 Vedantic mindsets, even though there are many more Vedantic mindsets itself. I thought this being a public and open session, I would speak and restrict myself to only 4 of them, right? Let me quickly summarize. Oh no, sorry. Right. The 4th Vedantic mindset technically is called Karta, Bhokta, Viveka. You know what's a Karta, you know what's a Bhokta. The word Viveka, the Shabda Jnanam, is an ability to discriminate. And discriminate is used in a positive sense here. We have only heard discriminate in a negative sense, like a gender discrimination, caste discrimination. We have learned it in negative sense. Discrimination is basically an ability to separate out 2 things. And that's called Viveka. Right? Scriptures give a lot of importance to Viveka. In fact, in Tamil, Vega means speed. Right? In Tamil, we say Vivekam is more important than Vekam. That means, ability to discriminate is more important than speed. What is the use of being highly productive if you're in the wrong direction? You've invested all your time in the wrong direction. Direction is wrong. You're highly productive in the wrong direction. Right? Because we are not able to discriminate between one thing and another thing. We mingle everything into one single bundle and we say everything is connected. No, nothing. No, they're not connected. You can separate out. This is different. This is different. Right? So the fourth mindset is called Karta Bhokta Viveka. Right? So we saw 4 mindsets. Vedantic mindset 1, 2, 3, 4. I had planned this session for 75 minutes. Right? And I think it is 72 minutes. I have 3 more minutes to summarize correctly. I didn't want to take too much of your time, and there is a question and answer planned, and which I don't want to miss. As Srividya rightly said, Q&A has been a revelation to me. Right? The kind of questions that are asked and the kind of perspectives that everybody can share is amazing. Right? So the 4 mindsets, Vedantic mindset 1, 2, 3, 4. The first mindset is Ishwararpana Buddhi. 3 words there. Ishvara is totality. Ishvara is not God. Ishvara is not a Shaivite or a Vaishnavite. Ishvara represents totality of the orders, totality of the laws, totality of the system. Arpana is an offering. And I am willing to offer only when I recognize deeply that I have received a lot and I have to make an offer. And I have received a lot from where? I have received a lot from Ishvara. I have received a lot from the system. And so any action I do, it's an offering to the system. That's Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Then Prasada Buddhi. Prasada we receive with a lot of reverence, with no judgments, and at the end of doing whatever we need to do, not at the beginning. Right? Then the gap between what and so what we need to reduce consciously. We definitely get impacted by an event. And so we say, what? How can I do this to me? But how long do you stay there? Right? Puja Swamiji used to say beautifully, getting angry, you have no choice. But staying angry, you have a choice. All right? Somebody provokes us, we get angry, yes. But we have a choice to stay angry or immediately calm down. Right? And I must honestly admit that in each of these 4 mindsets, I've had huge difficulty in practicing, in implementing it, because I realize that the existing mindsets are so strong. It doesn't prevent a new mindset from evolving. And the existing mindsets have been given by outside world. I have to be in charge of myself. And I have to do it, practice it every day, every day. Still, it's not easy. Right? And the 4th one is Karta Bhokta Viveka. This or the 4 mindsets we saw.